Carrie and Tommy will launch in just a second to brighten your day. With CommBank Yellow, you get discounts and exclusive experiences. More recognition for you and benefits for your business too. Say hello to CommBank Yellow today.
It's the one and only
Carrie Bickmore.
And Tommy Little.
This
Is Carrie and Tommy.
Yeah, welcome to another Carrie and Tommy podcast. How are you guys?
Carrie's eating a fibre stick to keep her regular.
It's just a protein bar. It's quite chewy.
I just tried a bit and I don't know how that's going to keep you regular, mate.
It's
So hard to chew.
Let's fill up.
Yeah.
What? I thought you were
I'm
better
almost
and back
done.
on track, Carrie.
I am.
But why then
Actually,
did you...
can we talk about this up next? Because I've got an issue with us discussing my bowels so much on air.
Yeah, we can talk about it. You've planned to. You wrote it on the board.
Yeah.
You said my bowels up first, 3:07.
Also on the show today, we have an incredible woman who you had the opportunity to meet backstage at the project.
Yes.
And she's all you could think about for days afterwards.
One of the most amazing stories, been detained over in China on basically made up charges, but we'll talk about that with her later on. And you won't believe the conditions. If you have a mind like mine that is fascinated as soon as you hear about incarceration stories in foreign countries and what it's actually like, she will answer all of the questions and not only do that with aplomb, she'll make you laugh along the way.
All while having kids herself who she didn't see for years. She has such a harrowing story.
I
That's
thought
coming
I
up.
did. I thought
Up
I did a
next,
pretty good job of it, to
I
be
just want
honest.
to add the
Didn't know
kid
you
bit.
needed to add a bit
I
at the
just
end.
want to add the kid bit.
You'd done your
Up
bow
next, so
tease.
speaking of harrowing,
Yes, yes.
stuff going on in my life is harrowing, and we need to discuss it.
Okay.
Carrie and Tommy.
I feel like I've done some pretty memorable things in my life, like good memorable things.
You've done amazing things because
So then why are the
you ju-
only two
just-
things that people seem to... Yes.
literally
Yes.
just over the weekend,
Yes.
you got a group of people together to raise over $1 million to hopefully one day find a cure for brain cancer. That in itself, and that's not your first fundraising effort. It is literally life and world changing stuff.
Yes,
You're absolutely
except
correct.
for the only thing that people have seemed to remember from that weekend's events is the fact that I hadn't pooed for 5 days.
You did keep hammering that
And
home.
that is all that anybody now keeps talking to me about. One of the mums at the gym today, she goes, "Oh, I heard you yesterday, so have you pooed?" And I was like, I don't want to be discussing with people what's happening with my bowel. I know we did it on air.
Has Carrie done a poo yet?
Do you want the honest answer?
Are you... Carrie, it's been days.
I'm trying. Really? I think all the stuff, this is too much for the start of the show. I think all the stuff
Do you want to
that
save it for the end? Tease to it. Guys, coming up, we
what a
find
hook.
out.
I've had so many coffees. I think I might have to take a laxative, which I've never had to take in my life because I am a regular, not...
Brag.
To brag about when you've been backed up for 3 days.
Okay, so
It's an interesting question because if someone said to me at a bar, what do you want to hear about? Do you want to hear about the time I raised $1 million or do you want to hear about the longest time I'd taken without doing a dump? I'd probably go dump.
yes, but I feel like it's the least interesting thing about
It's
me.
fascinating,
Because
Carrie.
the
You're
other
so
thing-
little. Where did all the food go?
Yeah, it's true.
You
I was
travelled.
very bloated. But let's
you
not talk
travelled
about it
overseas.
more.
You
We've
had
done
breakfast
no.
before
Let's
the
not
marathon?
And you ran
We've
a
got to
half.
talk
You
about
ran
it more.
You ran a half
I'm
marathon.
aware. I carried it round. We're not talking about that more because the other thing, and this was even more humiliating because it was a man in a truck and he said, "I love your show." And then he said to me, "I love the bit about..."
In line for security at the airport last night in a very public setting, you scooped your hand. You
You are
scooped your
now
hand
making this into
and
something
then-
that did not happen.
and then itched your vagina. That was
And
right. That
how-
was at an airport security.
People-
I can't unsee that.
And then we had a caller the other day and he said, "Oh, hey, Carrie." And then he straight away,
How's the itch going?
he said, "How's the itch going?" So now all anyone wants to talk to me about is my
Greek-
itch that I didn't have.
You did. You admitted you did.
And my poo that I
yogurt.
didn't have.
Greek yogurt. Well, Greek yogurt could be good for both, actually.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I feel like it's unfair.
You're
No,
curling
Greek
your hand
yogurt
up
was
to
for
scratch
the
again.
yeast thing.
Yes.
Remember?
No, can we
Oh,
stop?
Sorry.
Just like what would you be remembered for? What do you
Not a
think in
lot.
your life you'll be remembered for?
For standing next to Carrie when she was scratching.
Probably for outing the
No,
Sorry.
in your heart of heart, what would you want to be remembered for?
a lovely guy who made people smile more than he made them cry.
Yeah, see, I'd love that.
Yeah, and stop scratching yourself and go to the toilet more so we can focus on the bigger things.
13, 10, 60. I want a couple of things. I want to know, because clearly I've worked out what you're all remembering me by, because you're telling me that you remember me by my
You do
scratching
keep
and my
bringing it
poo.
up again.
What are you remembering Tommy by? Is the first thing I want to know on 13, 10, 60. If you're remembering me by my scratching and my lack of number twos, what are you remembering him by? Second of all, is there something in your life that happened to you that you can't shake? Like, you've done so many other more impressive things in your life and people are still only referencing this one stupid thing that happened and they won't let it go.
I remember there was a kid I went to school with.
13, 10,
He's
60.
a lovely, lovely guy, but on the first day he went to school, there was 100-metre sprints. And he just said no, right? He didn't want to do it, and then he went to, and he's a skinny lad, and then he went to sit on the chair to sit out of PE, and the chair broke, and he's still called Fatty to this day.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but
See, what other great things did he go on to do?
Who knows?
That's the point. No one then cares. No one's going to think
What are we doing? So what are we doing, Scratchy?
13, 10, 60.
Yep.
I want to know what people are going to remember you for now that we're aware that what they're going to remember me for. And second of all, what are you remembered for that just infuriates you because you're more than that?
It can just be lovely things about me.
No, I don't get that.
Let's take a chance.
No,
but you've got so
you
many
better
nice
not
things.
get lovely
I'm
things
the-
about you. That would
I
piss me off
am-
so much.
I'm the underdog in this story, and I just need
You're
a
the
bone
underdog and
thrown
never
my
in
way.
life.
I am. So if you can just say I'd be remembered in some nice ways, that'd really be appreciated.
Whatever.
60.
Carrie and Tommy.
Your Thursday Arvo, it's Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little. And on 13, 10, 60, we're talking about your legacy.
No,
Carrie's legacy.
I don't want this.
Carrie, stop it.
I don't want this to be my legacy. But people keep coming up and talking to me about the fact that I hadn't pooed, not about how amazing is the marathon, just have you pooed yet?
But it makes it more amazing that you didn't poo for it.
And then a lot
Just
of
to carry the extra weight
people
around.
seem to still remember when you think you caught me
No, you admitted.
itching
You-
at the airport.
You admitted you did.
No, I did. I said I had a tiny rearrangement
What are you rearranging?
because sometimes our stuff gets caught up our bits, like our underwear and G-strings.
Why did you answer honestly?
What?
Why did you answer honestly?
What do you mean?
Why didn't you just move on?
Anyway, the point is, I don't want to be remembered for those things. Stop talking to me about those things.
You're the one that put them on board.
So I said 13, 10, 60. What are you remembering Tommy for? Because I bet you it's different to what you're remembering me for. But I also want to know if there's something that annoys you that people still remember to this day that you did. And you've done so much other stuff. Who have we got first?
Todd. G'day, Todd.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Carrie, what would you like to know from Todd first?
Todd, first of all, what will you remember Tommy for?
I'll tell you what, Carrie, you're not helping yourself with this situation, but I'm up in Caboolture, and I'll tell you what, when Caboolture's talking about Tommy's content the last 3 days about Carrie's crap, there's nothing better. That's what I'm going to remember Tommy for. Caboolture talking about Carrie's crap because Tommy has had the best content he's had this week.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate
As
that.
always, he'd be nothing without me, and I'm the one always providing the content, Todd.
You might.
You kind of are.
Yeah, Todd. Carrie sometimes can be quite snarky. Do you think you should be remembered for being a bit snarky as well?
She does get a little bit moody, doesn't she?
She does get in the
And,
mood.
but it's backhanded moody because she has a go at you, Tommy. Say, don't say that, don't say that. And then 2 seconds later, she's saying, I had to adjust my bits.
I know.
So, like,
It's
what are you
tricky.
meant to do?
It's tricky terrain, Todd. It's very tricky terrain. Thank you. Because
I didn't say anything. The shrill alarm can only come out if I'm being shrill,
I
and
know.
I'm certainly not being shrill.
it's a vibe thing, and it's attached to your
Automatic. I don't do it.
Steve. Hey, Steve.
How are you?
What are you calling about, Steve?
Oh, just a memory from your time dressed up as Woody,
Oh, that's right. When you had the camel toe.
the camel toe.
That
yeah.
was right. That was quite. It was quite invasive. I think we've got some audio of that.
Howdy, cowboy.
Out of that costume. Why are we still walking?
I'm going to do
this
the
way?
rest of Disneyland in it. You want a photo with Woody? No. No. Okay.
The answer was no,
No.
and then he
He
ran
doesn't want a photo with Woody.
Once again, Carrie, you put yourself in that costume,
And it was a child's costume.
and then you
I
asking
guess
children.
again, it was just for everybody's entertainment. Why can't I be remembered as an amazing entertainer?
What's the ride?
Why do I have to remember for the camel toe bit?
I didn't say.
He did. Steve did.
Oh, sorry. We
Steve
did mention
did,
it. Thank
yeah.
you, Steve. Appreciate that.
What about Ree? Hey, Ree.
Hey, so Carrie, look, you're not the only one that's been doing X-rated content because I'm going to be remembering Tommy for the number of times he got his PP involved on Taskmaster.
Thank you. I did also
Like
stick a lot
every
of stuff up my butt, Ree.
Yeah, and even you had a bigger PP, lots going on with your downstairs area every episode of Taskmaster.
Thank you, Ree. But maybe we're the downstairs show because.
Well, you don't always bring it to this show. You just keep it for your TV appearances.
No, I bring a fair bit of it on this show, I think.
Cass. Hey, Cass.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, we're good, Cass. What's going on? Well, actually, we're not good. I'm annoyed about what I'm being remembered for. I forgot.
I can tell. This might not make you feel any better, I'm sorry. But I will forever remember Tommy as my future husband. My current husband is fully aware that Tommy is my leave pass and one day will be married to me.
That's exciting
How do you
for
feel
both
about
of us,
that?
Cass. I'm very excited, Cass. Whereabouts in the country do you live?
I'm in Sunbury, so not quite regional, but certainly not country.
Didn't matter what you said. I was going to say I can travel. That's fine. Good on Cass. I look forward to our future happiness together, and I can't wait. Is this what you were hoping for, Carrie?
That's just nice things to you again, of course. Abigail.
Hi,
Hey, Abby, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. What will you remember me for?
I'm going to remember you for getting beaten up by a 12-year-old.
That's
That
right.
12-year-old was me.
Yes,
Right, Abby.
Abby.
I remember, Abby.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember. Are you still boxing?
I am. Well, I'm still boxing, but I've started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so I can move over to MMA.
Whoa. This was years ago. We did a promotion with Abby where I can't remember why, but Abby just beat me up. Why did we do that, Abby?
I think it was to show my sport.
Okay. Yeah. Why didn't you beat Carrie up, Abby?
Well, you were just more interesting to do it to. And Carrie doesn't
So
deserve
now
it.
I'm being remembered as more interesting.
Carrie and Tommy. Carrie and Tommy.
Carrie and Tommy driving you home for your Thursday, Arvo.
The Snooze End of Financial Year sale is on now. Save up to 50% off selected mattresses, up to 40% off selected bed frames, and up to 30% off bedding, linen, and rugs. Hurry, sale ends soon.
Escape to paradise. If I could escape, those will be the best memories. With Carrie and Tommy.
Bye.
Oh, this is going to be fun, guys.
Not long now because
Threw the bikini in the suitcase the other day. Just thought I'm going to start. I know it's a little way away, but I'm just going to start putting some things in to get excited.
what else have you got in there?
Nothing at this point.
Just a bikini.
Just that. Well, you don't need much if you're going to Hayman Island.
Mel, how good does that sound? Going away with just a bikini.
Oh my gosh, I have to go buy one.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, I haven't prepared for this.
Mel, who are you going to bring if you're lucky enough to come?
I would have to say my other half. Well, now technically my now fiance. Probably listening. But yeah, yeah.
When was the last time you guys had a holiday?
We haven't had a holiday ever, like a properly one. We've been together nearly 14 years and haven't had one. So, yeah, this will be a first.
Well, what a way to start. 3 nights accommodation, the
God, maybe you could get
Intercontinental
married
Hayman.
there. We could do a surprise wedding.
She doesn't even have a bikini now. She's got to buy a wedding dress.
Can I get married in my bikini? Will that help?
Yes, Mel. I'll be your bridesmaid.
Will you come? Thank you.
Hey, Mel, all you have to do if you want to win this trip is guess the poolside drink that Carrie is sipping on. Are you ready for your first clue?
Okay, please. Yes, make it an easy one.
You can only technically call me this if I'm French.
Champagne?
Oh, Mel.
We're actually going?
Yeah.
Yes, Mel. You and your beautiful partner are coming.
Oh, my God. Are you just joking with me.
No, Mel, we'll see
Mel,
you there.
if we were now, I'd be feeling so bad. We will absolutely be seeing
I'd
you
just buy
there.
you a holiday if this was a joke at this point.
Oh my gosh, my boss is going to kill me.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, no, we do care,
Yeah, I know,
obviously.
don't
We don't want you to lose your job. You
But
go
yes.
work that stuff out and then we'll chat to you more off air, okay?
Oh my gosh.
We'll,
Okay, thank you.
we'll see you in
We'll
paradise,
see you there.
Mel.
Go buy Bikini Mel.
We've got more trips to give away as well, so make sure you're listening every morning from 9 a.m. This winter, escape the chill and embrace sun-drenched days with Intercontinental Hayman Great Barrier Reef's limited-time anniversary offer from $525 per night. Conditions apply.
Carrie and Tommy.
I want to hear from people who broke up and then they got back together, but they got back together in really peculiar or funny circumstances that they found. Not just, we fell back in love or we realised we made a mistake. I want funny, peculiar stories because this next one is a love story with a twist. So Jenna and Mitchell Brotherson, not brother sister, but Mitchell's last name is Brotherson. They broke up. So Jenna broke up with Mitchell. She said on her
Dumped
TikTok she was feeling too overwhelmed with life and was like, nah, can't do Mitch anymore. He's gone.
It's a real guy
Yeah.
excuse.
What?
Usually.
I'm too overwhelmed, isn't it? It's so pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But the very next day, poor Mitch, he had a skiing accident and he suffered a very, very bad concussion. And in that concussion, he forgot about the breakup.
what a
So-
great card to pull.
After the accident, he kept messaging Jenna and she was like, why is he messaging me all the time? We are not together anymore. And she thought, maybe like he just wants to stay friends. And then he just kept being lovely and he kept showing up and he was sending her gifts. He was bringing ice cream to her and her roommates. And
Wasn't he wondering why his girlfriend isn't visiting him?
Yeah. Did he forget that he'd had an accident?
I don't know.
Was he in hospital? Did she not? And where is my girlfriend? And why isn't she visiting me?
And then when she reminded him about the breakup, he thought it was funny. He had memory of them being together, but he had no memory of them breaking up, which is very clever.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
And then as a result of the funny misconnect there, they started hanging out more and then they reconnected and 5 months later he proposed and they got married.
As a result of the funny misconnect. Do you mean the brain injury? Is that what you mean? The funny misconnect. He had a skiing accident and had amnesia. Oh, you mean a funny misconnect? No, it was quite.
No, I mean
it's quite a horrific
the
event that
misconnect
happened to him.
between them, not his funny
To
concussion.
be fair, she
There's
wanted
nothing
a
funny about
disconnect between
concussion.
them.
Nothing funny about concussion. I mean, maybe they'd be good calls too. What did you forget and had to be reminded about? But I
Really
the love
broadening
of
out.
my life left me.
Anyway, isn't that lovely? If it wasn't for his concussion, they wouldn't be married.
But surely at some point he goes, why did you leave me? And
Well,
then
she
they
says-
relive that whole
Well, she just says
scenario.
she was overwhelmed, and maybe she's not so overwhelmed now. Maybe his accident put things into perspective.
Now that he's a bit more forgetsy and not as overwhelmed by life.
Our
Yeah.
producer Sam had a big concussion. Was there anything you had to be
This
reminded
isn't-
about
this is-
afterwards?
Just to be clear, though, this isn't a concussion, right? This is amnesia.
No, he suffered a concussion and he
Oh.
forgot about the breakup.
But I guess
This
the-
is a concussion and amnesia
It's
story.
2 in 1.
I guess a product of concussion could be amnesia. But I didn't forget too. I think I forgot more like my daily work tasks and things. that you guys probably noticed for a good 6 to 12 months there. But
Yeah,
I
well,
am
we
back.
actually fired you, and you kept turning up each day, forgetting that you've
And
been
then after
broken
a while,
up with.
like Jenna and Mitchell were like, all right, you can come back. 13 10 60. I want to know how you got back together.
Great.
Like what happened that suddenly you found yourself back in each other's arms and it's a funny, peculiar way you found yourself back together.
Great.
Also, if you've had a concussion and need to be reminded of something, what was it? 13 10 60.
Carrie and Tommy.
Happy Thursday, Arvo. It's Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little.
So Jenna and Mitchell Brotherson, not brother and sister, unfortunate last name.
Not brother and son.
Their love story is a bit unexpected. She broke up. Jenna broke up with Mitchell. She was feeling overwhelmed with life. The next day he had a skiing accident. He suffered a concussion and amnesia and he forgot that they'd broken up. So he kept texting Jenna as if Jenna was his partner. Jenna wasn't his partner. But then they fell in love, reconnected, and they got married. And so I'm asking on 13 10 60 funny ways you got back together. And we're also talking concussion stories if you've got any as well. Glenn, how are you going?
Very well, guys. How you doing, legends?
Yeah, good. What's going on in your world?
So I was living in Thredbo, and I had a massive snowboard accident and had a very major concussion and didn't realise it. And I had to go to work on the Friday because Friday is changeover day in Thredbo where all the old people leave and the new ones come through.
Yes.
And I was head of housekeeping and I had to allocate all the linen to all the different lodges. And it turns out that I literally just gave one lodge like 47 tea towels and nothing else. And then the next lodge had like 100 bath sheets and nothing else. And I actually have no recollection of even working that day. I literally went home. I went home in the afternoon. I was watching television and someone told me that I'd messed up and I had no idea what they were talking about. I actually thought I'd spend all day snowboarding.
Glenn, was that scary?
Pretty much, yeah. It was like when it first happened, it was like a weird sort of lightheaded feeling and I didn't really think much of it. But then to lose a whole 24 hours of my life and not have any recollection, like ever, like no idea what I'd done, where I'd been, who I'd spoken to, anything. And I'd been at work trying to function.
Did it keep happening, or was it just kind of the once off and then?
I had major headaches for about 3 or 4 days afterwards, and then it just sort of went. But I've had a couple of concussions. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a hopeless bugger. So
all
but yeah,
snowboarding.
that was no, all sorts of stuff, playing footy, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that was definitely the worst one by far because I fell backwards, so it was like a whiplash where I hit the snow really hard. Yeah, so no, that was very scary.
Glenn, look after that pill of yours, please.
Yeah, I'll try.
Good man, thank you. Let's go to Angie. G'day, Angie.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Is this how funny ways you got back together or concussion?
Bit of both,
Okay.
and it wasn't myself; it was my parents.
Yep.
Way back in the 60s. My father had proposed to my mother and then he'd gone swimming and we think he was body surfing and he's hit his head and knocked himself out, got a concussion, completely forgotten that he'd proposed to my mother, forgot who she was. Yes. But my mother was extremely persistent, very tenacious, wasn't going to let it go, and convinced him over time of who she was and that he proposed to her. And they were happily married for 60 years or so.
Wow.
So she just told him, we're staying together pretty much and you're
Pretty
marrying
much, I
me.
believe so. Dad said she was incredibly persistent and she was about everything in her entire life. So.
Angie, when you say she was incredibly persistent, does that mean that there was a bit of pushback initially?
Look, there's a little bit of a backstory too, which is quite funny because apparently before he'd met her, he'd promised his mates they were going to go backpacking around Europe. And then he met her and proposed to her and then told her that, and she said, over my dead body. So we're just wondering between the siblings whether the injury was faked.
Oh, my God.
Don't worry, boys.
Probably not, though, because there was some, medical evidence, etc.
So funny. Imagine pitching
The
to your
links.
mates like, hey, boys, don't
Yeah.
worry. I've got to wait. We're still going backpacking. You book the flights and just pick up that bat over there and hit me on the head. It'll be fine.
Carrie and Tommy.
Because you want to win the lotto?
Always. Everybody does.
Maybe you don't.
Why?
Yes, no, I do.
No, maybe you don't. So, as I said,
Are you just going to tell me depressing stories?
yes, but it's great because most of us don't get to win the lotto, so this is a great story for the rest of us. Maybe you should just appreciate what you have because winning a huge amount of money
Quickly
can be pretty detrimental. There are studies in the US that have said you are more likely, if you win the lotto, to declare bankruptcy within 3 to 5 years compared to the average citizen.
Oh, because you just go spend it on stuff or invest in stuff that goes kaput.
Well,
Kaput?
kaput. Yeah, kaput. Yeah, kaput's good. So there was a guy in the UK, his name's Michael Carroll. He was a bin man, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what they're called? A garbage collector?
Garbo.
Yeah, Garbo.
A bin man, anyway, who won nearly £10 million, right? And he declared bankruptcy 9 years later.
What had he done with it?
He immediately gave £4 million to friends and family,
Aw.
including $1.4 million to his wife.
That's so lovely. Were they together?
Hey, they were together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he gave her $1.4
Yeah, so
million.
why did you give
So she left him.
Oh.
Mhm. Then over, yeah. He said, here's 1.4 million. She said, say yeah.
Surely she's like, well, I'm entitled to half. So
I was going to say, doesn't she get more than that?
Don't know, but she left him anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, but his friends, that's so generous.
It is really nice, isn't it? But then over the next few years, he bought this mansion and it fell into a state of disrepair because he didn't know how to keep it up. And so he found himself in court 30 times because all the local people around him had complained about his mansion. He admitted he wasted millions on illicit substances, gambling, women, and drinking 2 bottles of vodka a day. By 2013, he was broke and homeless, so he returned to Scotland and worked in a biscuit factory, then a slaughterhouse, before landing a job as a coal man.
I mean, surely his friends owe him a
I was
bit
going to
better
say,
than
do
that.
his friends pay him the money back?
But
Because if
maybe,
you've been
Dave-
given all the cash and then you see your friend who gave you the cash is now struggling,
Yeah,
don't you then pay him back the money?
At least let him come and live with you. Surely you've got a spare room in that house.
But
you can
maybe
buy.
they've blown it as well. Maybe if you get
Yeah.
given $1 million, you're spending as quick as if you get 10
Is
million.
this the first depressing story, like the only depressing story you've got for us?
There's actually, and I will preface this is an awful story, but I didn't even think that this was a thing that could happen. Kidnapping is a huge issue.
Yes, that's
And
why a lot of people don't say when they've won the lottery.
Yeah. So this was actually a story from the 60s. Here.
Bless
I was going to say she's allergic to money, but she's not. Each time she got home each day, it would
She's
be
allergic.
a write-off. So back in the 60s, an Australian couple, they won the equivalent of £1.5 million. So what's that? Let's call it 3 million Aussie. And then their son got kidnapped. Yeah, an 8-year-old boy. And,
Oh, my God.
And they later found his body. They didn't
Stop
meet the hefty
it.
ransom. Yes.
Oh, they didn't meet the ransom.
No.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God, that is such a sad story.
It was the first known kidnapping for ransom story in Australia. So I'm saying maybe you don't want to win the lotto.
So I wonder how hard it is to pretend to not have money once you've won the lotto. Like if you don't want people to know for serious
Yes.
reasons like that, or
Rocking up in a helicopter is tough to.
of course, but there must be like even just the subtle ways, everything would change, surely, subtly, that would have everybody going, hold on, he might have sold and bought a new car, he's slightly upgraded his house, he's not
Even at
working as
dinner.
much, or I'll pay, or
Yeah.
like surely there's subtle signs.
Yes, he's ordered wine. He never orders wine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's made me sad.
Well, I thought this is good because you haven't won the lotto, right?
Yes, and most people won't win the lotto.
Yes.
Yes.
Almost everybody won't win the lotto. 13, 10, 60. I know this is a long shot, but have you won something that made you miserable?
That's great.
Thank you. 7 years of working together. It is the first phone topic. Where you have
Which
said,
one of the producers'
"That's
ideas was
great."
that?
13, 10, 60. Give us a call. Have you won something and has it made you miserable?
Carrie and Tommy. Carrie and Tommy.
It's Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little. And on 13-10-60, did you win something and it made your life worse?
Yep, I've been looking at big lotto winners, including a bloke who won a £10 million, gave 1.4 million to his wife. She left him, took the money, gave 4 million to his friends.
They didn't seem to help out when he lost it all.
No, he ended up then floundering the rest and ended up broke 10 years later, filing for bankruptcy.
And then we heard the horrible story here in Australia where
Yes.
a family won the lotto and then their son got kidnapped.
One of our producers did give us an interesting fact then when the song was on. He said it was after that the lotto winners were allowed to be anonymous.
So they should be able to be.
Mm.
I didn't realise they weren't before. Donna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're talking about things you've won that made you miserable. What did you win?
So I poured the perfect Guinness
Yes.
and won a trip to Ireland.
Wow. When you say you poured the perfect Guinness, just due to the amount of head, did they do that thing where they stamp the top?
Correct. I did a training course
Yep.
on how to pour the perfect Guinness. So
Okay.
I was working at a pub at the time. I'd only just become a barmaid. I was very young and did a training course on how to pour the perfect Guinness because they got Guinness on tap.
Yes. And
So
I would have
then
thought
they
a trip
come
to
around-
Ireland would have
Sorry.
been awesome.
Right? Yeah.
What
So
happened?
they come around and they're like, oh, congratulations. They were checking out everyone's pouring their Guinness. Congratulations, you've poured the perfect Guinness. here's an entry into a trip to go to Ireland. And all other barmaids were entered as well, whoever poured their perfect Guinness.
What happened in Ireland?
And then I got the congratulations, you won a trip to Ireland.
What happened in
Just
Ireland?
to be clear, though, there was a perfect Guinness, right?
So just quickly, I didn't go to Ireland. My boss, the publican, took the trip.
Oh, but you're the one that poured the perfect Guinness, Donna.
I poured the Guinness, and I still to this day have the certificate to say I poured the perfect Guinness and won a trip to Ireland. But my boss and his wife, they went to Ireland.
That's outrageous.
That's enough to make you miserable. Thank you, Donna.
I remember I won. It's so funny when she said just quickly. I won, the first ever thing I won was an entire year's gym membership. But I was 10 and you had to be over 18 to use it, so I could never use it. I used to fill out all the forms in the supermarket while my mum was shopping.
Your
because I
favourite
love
hobby.
them, form filling out.
I remember I was at a fair in the country and I won a billy cart competition and I won 3 litres of oil.
3 litres of oil.
And I was like 8. And I was like, woohoo!
Dad might have liked it.
Oh.
Was it just for like what? Oil for what?
Like oil
Cooking
for your car.
oil
No,
or
no,
car
for your car.
right.
Yeah.
Kieran, hey Kieran.
G'day, guys. How are you?
Yeah,
Good.
very good.
What did you win and what happened?
Well, not technically I won, but, back in the day, I'm talking, 15, or probably 20 years ago now, I was a first-year apprentice and payday, $9 an hour. I'm like, oh, yeah, buy a smoko today. And I went up to the newsagent and I bought a $5 scratch word, like a scratchy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, my mates, I went back, sat down, and said, I might go get one too. So here I am scratching my scratchy away, nothing. And next minute, he's like, yep, I've jagged it. I won 15 grand. I'm like, what? No way. So, and I was going to say I was going to buy the 2 scratchies as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I'll just get the one. Yeah, so my mate snagged it. He went on a massive holiday. He took a few weeks off work, and here I am working away.
Oh, he wouldn't have even got one if you hadn't got one.
No, he wouldn't have either. No, you're correct.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
I think Kieran's lying.
Why?
Oh, there's just a tone that sometimes people
I
get.
don't think so.
Can we go back to Kieran quickly?
I fully believe him.
Kieran, are you lying?
Me? No, 100%, mate, 100%.
Yeah, I believe him.
Did his mate give you?
I wish I was lying.
Did your mate give you anything?
Well, he did. He did have a bit of a party and everything like that, but no money to myself. But
You said it was 15 or 20 years ago.
yeah, it was 15 grand.
And how old are you now?
I'm 30. What am I? 33.
Oh, yeah.
Can you stop,
I'm just saying,
interrogating
sorry,
this poor
15,
man?
20 years ago. He was an apprentice when he was 13.
Who cares? Good on you, Kieran. Sorry about my co-host.
Carrie, sometimes you've got to do your due diligence.
Kate, careful, because we've got a bit of due diligence happening on the other side of the desk here.
I'll try. G'day, Kate.
Hello. Hi. How are you going?
Yes, so good. Thank you. What did you win that made you miserable?
So I won a ski trip from one of the radio stations.
It wasn't us, was it?
No.
Okay, good.
No, which is good because, that trip made me miserable because we went out with my husband, then husband. We met some friends and we skied with them. But then my husband left me with one of the ladies. So he, after some time, he hooked up with this girl and he left me. That's my story.
Are you going to interrogate poor Kate?
Yeah, I think she's playing a character.
She's Russian.
I don't think... Kate, whereabouts in Russia are you from?
My city is called Moscow.
Oh, and when did you come out to Australia?
It's been 12 years now.
Really? What brought you out here?
Well, I came here just to learn English, and then I really loved this country, and I decided to stay. So I studied, I found a job, and I stayed.
What is wrong with you, Mr. Little?
I don't know. I think the last
These
bloke
are
was
your
lying.
callers. They're calling, answering your call topic,
reckon
and you're
Kate's-
like, liar, she's not real.
I reckon Kate's from Parramatta, and when she hangs up, she's going to go, got him.
Carrie and Tommy.
Right around Australia, if you drive home, it's Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little.
So, I've been getting so many DMs and so many comments under my posts at the moment from women who have said, oh, my God, you've inspired me to start running and I want to try and do a half marathon, which is awesome because I've been trying to say to everybody, even though I came last in our group and Ned Brockman came first out of the entire competition and broke course records, we both achieved the same thing and we're very different. And I'm a mum who had to teach myself to run. I can't do my training consistently. You know, my body's obviously been through childbirth. There's lots of stuff. And a lot of mums have been like, I thought they were all reasons why I would never be able to run, but I want to try it. And they're all asking for an event down under. So I just wanted to put it out there because I think if I vision board it, it will happen. I am going to try and organise like a big 5 for everybody, but down under.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. So if you've been seeing the action and you're Jessie, like, I want in, it won't be any time soon because these things take a lot to organise, but maybe just, you know, add a few Ks into your week, ladies, because I think I'm going to organise an event down under.
Jessie, you need a rhino suit. Get ready.
She said ladies as well, so...
No, you guys too.
5. Oh, yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, you can all run in suits.
Oh, no, I thought we'd just be the animals.
Do you remember that man that ran in a suit?
Yeah.
Wait, why do I have to be the rhino?
He got medically evac'd
out. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kept seeing him on the track in a proper business suit.
Yeah, and I'd asked him, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm very late for work. It was very funny. And then I asked about him at the end because it was so hot out there. And I thought about him when I was running. I thought, how's he doing in a suit? He was not. He got evac'd out. Up next, one of the most amazing women that I've met with an incredible story about being detained overseas in brutal conditions. Why she got detained was even more savage. Anyway, you're going to hear about it next.
Carrie and Tommy.
Around Australia for your drive home this afternoon, it's Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little.
I was in doing the project and I met this woman and it was vaguely familiar. And then I went out of the green room to see some makeup artists that we used to work with, and it was saying what's coming up on the project. And it said, we speak to the woman who was detained in China, the journalist who was detained in China for 3 years. And I was like, I remember that story. Oh, my gosh, that's the woman I've just met. And I literally ran back in the room, and I was like, I've got so many questions. Can I ask you questions? And I thought, rather than just ask them in private, we may as well ask them in public. If you want to know more about the story, you can stream the documentary Cheng Lei, My Story at skynews.com.au, and her book, Cheng Lei, A Memoir of Freedom, is out now. Would you please welcome Cheng Lei?
Thank you. No, it sounds like I just went into the makeup or the green room just for
hang
you
out.
to, spruik my book for me.
We should start by saying we just discovered when you walked in here that you've been listening to our network, our radio network, for, did you say 40 years?
40 years, yeah.
I mean, how awesome.
Because I was a 10-year-old, I had to learn English, and this was the best way.
I love that. Who would have thought all these years later this is how we'd be meeting?
And the songs that I taught my cellmates in detention that kept us going, that gave us so much joy. A lot of it was from commercial
Like the
radio.
hits, yeah, right.
Like the Fox, yeah.
What songs did you teach them?
Well, Graceland, Hallelujah, Amazing Grace, Itsy Bitsy Spider, Christmas
I don't reckon
carols.
we played Graceland on the station for a while.
The most recent one, I must say, is Riptide by Vance Joy. Yeah.
I wonder if Vance knows he's making it quite big in the detention centres.
With the female detainees, yeah.
For those people who are unfamiliar with your story, can you start, why were you detained?
That's probably a state secret for the Chinese. They're not going to admit exactly why, but if you do the maths, Australia asked for an independent investigation into the source of COVID. China was super unhappy about that and started slapping trade sanctions on us and surveilling Australians in China. I was unluckily one of those, and
you were doing what in China at the time? You were working...
I was a business journalist.
Yep.
And also, unfortunately, I had just concocted this new show idea about cooking and dining with ambassadors. And now I know that the Chinese see almost all diplomats as spies. So the fact that I was going to these embassies where they couldn't properly monitor what people are saying and doing aroused their suspicion. Although in court they said the suspicion was why they started surveillance on me was that I was in frequent contact with foreign journalists. As a foreign journalist who's been there for nearly 2 decades, that is absurd. Why shouldn't I be in
contact with foreign journalists?
And I've been doing that for years.
Were you living there with you had 2 teenagers. Were you living there at the time?
Well, they were 8
with
and
them
10 at the time. And they had just come to Australia because of COVID. Schools in China weren't restarting. So they came for a little holiday. And then when I booked them on flights back, China locked its borders. So I had not seen them for 6 months at the time of my arrest, which then turned into almost 4 years. And the only time I heard their voice was during a 30-minute phone call that China so graciously granted me after our new PM at the time in 2022, Albanese and the Chinese president met at the G20 summit.
So how long had that been between speaking to them?
More than 2 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I used to ask for a recording of their voices. And couldn't even do that.
So, I interrupted you there when I was asking about your kids. You were explaining the moment that you were detained. So you were just working over there, and it's my understanding that you disclosed a press release before it was set to be before the embargo. Is that right?
Just to explain, the embargo was never on the document.
Right.
The embargo time was only set a year later when the prosecutor said, hang on a second, you don't have anything that says there was an embargo time. So then the Classifications Bureau produced a document because they're all in this together. And the fact that it's 8 words, or it could have been anything, it's a closed trial. The defense lawyer can do extremely little except show me family letters. And it just so happens that at the raid of my apartment, they found this document which I hadn't thrown away, even though it was already 3 months after the event.
So where were you at the time of being detained, and how does that play out? What does that look like? Do you have one person come up to you? Do you have hundreds descend on you? What does that look like?
Well, I've later met detainees who said they were in public or some were in the airport. But in my case, I was lured with the promise of a one-on-one with the channel boss. Imagine how keen you'd be, right? If you had an idea for a new show and said the head of Fox wanted to meet with you and have a one-on-one. So off I went. But all this is detailed in the book. And there are lots of twists and turns in the incarceration.
I imagine the whole thing was pretty harrowing, but it's a hell of a way to get into it. Start with 6 months in solitary.
Yes, and a special type of solitary, which comes with 2 people glued to you every minute of the day. They work in pairs, and they have 3 different shifts. So every 4 hours they change people, but at all times I am watched. There was one girl who later on, because it was like 5 months in, she got a bit more daring, and because they're not supposed to talk to me. And she said, I've seen you on TV. I said, now you can watch me live stream, shit, shower, sleeping. And she was like...
Did that form some kind of more of a friendship or a bond, or you never got to that with any of them?
I had a lot of empathy for them, and because of that, they had sympathy for me.
Mm-hmm.
But they're told a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
That I'm dangerous, that I have betrayed the country, I've hurt state security, and they're just fresh out of technical school, early 20s, getting paid a little bit of money and doing this terrible job. Imagine if if you had to stand next to Tommy at this distance and just stare at him, including doing the most private things and crying all the time.
Oh my God.
What sort of job is that?
And so is it true you weren't even allowed to move? Are you standing?
No, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, which is a hard bed.
Yeah.
And to move, I have to ask for permission. And those are the only words that I say in a whole day of just sitting there.
Leigh, I can't believe what you've been through. And up next, if it's okay, I would love to ask you about something you told me off air at the project. We'll do that next.
Carrie and Tommy. Carrie and Tommy.
Carrie and Tommy for your Thursday Arvo, and we are still joined by Cheng Lei, who spent 3 years in detention in China under extremely tough conditions.
Brutal. Lei, I met you backstage at the project a few weeks ago, and it's fine if this answer is a no, but you told me about something...
no way. You're not going to go there, Tommy.
He told me what
Neil
you said
Mitchell
as well.
did wimp out at this one, and so did Gary Jublin, and you're going to go there.
Yeah, of course he is.
But I found it, because and I know we've only spent moments together, but I find it, it's been similar to every bit of chatting with you, which is I found you funny. I find the story harrowing, but also there's just such human elements. And even though, the childish bit in my brain thinks that what we spoke about, it makes me giggle at first, I also think it's wonderfully human.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Am I allowed to say? No.
Oh, which part?
How you pass the time. Is this what we're discussing?
And what you taught potentially the other women that you said they haven't experienced this aspect of life.
Right. I think, Carrie, you know where we're going.
So to enjoy some form of pleasure, personal pleasure,
yes,
would you do that in front of them? Or do you do it in private time?
So there are 35 rules of the detention centre, which are repeated on the loudspeakers every Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. And one of them is you cannot put your hands inside the covers, and you cannot pee or poo on the floor, which is fairly obvious.
Good one.
You cannot be naked.
Yeah.
And I have been caught, for example, hugging a cellmate, and then because there's an intercom in the 5 cameras and an intercom in the cell, and they're watching you all the time. So whenever they see you doing something they don't like, they buzz you and say, "Stop that." So that hug was bzz, and it gets so that you feel a bit jumpy. You're always kind of doubting if what you're doing is legit. But they can't watch it all the time. So, mind in the gutter as always. I would ask my cellmates about their former sex lives. And it turns out that 2 of my cellmates had never had orgasms. And I just thought it was a tragedy. And now they're stuck there, and possibly for a decade in jail after that. So I would make up these cheeky dialogues to teach them English, and a lot of it would revolve around men and women together. And they loved it because it's, Confucianism is just terrible for the female desire in the Chinese culture. And they're just always repressing it because it's seen as dirty and shameful and not to be talked about. So the fact that they could, in another language, be so liberated,
wow,
was quite human.
What was that moment like when you reunited with your kids after 3 years?
That was an interesting segue. Straight from
Speaking of how your kids got there.
Exactly. Straight from orgasms to kids. Oh dear. I don't know.
I can't even imagine not seeing your children for 3 years, not having any contact with them, and then suddenly
I had letters. Oh. Yeah, but they always came. If I had to, if I wanted to get an answer to a question, it took at least 3 months.
Did they censor the letters?
Yes. And one letter got rejected because I made up a kid's story in which 2, like a brother and a sister, go back in time to rescue their disappeared mum by collecting different objects from her lifetime. And in it, there was a character whose name sounded vaguely like my former colleague, former friend, who was kind of
involved
implicated in the case. And because it sounded similar.
And were you trying to make it sound similar, or
Not
by
at
chance?
All.
Yeah,
they don't even know her Chinese name.
Okay.
So they're just very paranoid about me sending out any signals.
So when you see them for the first time, does that happen at an airport? Does that happen in China,
was at
Australia?
Melbourne Airport, yeah.
And what was it like?
Again, that's better described in the book because it's impossible to say what that moment is like. It's about the build-up and also how it felt to be apart in so much pain that it hurt to think about them. It hurt to breathe when I thought about them. That's how much I missed them. And to survive, you had to just keep that part of you well away from your daily routine. Because I had one cellmate who would just sit there day after day against the wall, missing her family.
Oh, my God.
And her health faltered. She would refuse food. And then where does that get you? Right? As my cellmate, one more positive cellmate and I used to say, you got to sit through each day, whether you're grumpy or happy. So why not get through it being happy?
Does it haunt you is probably too simple a word, but do you ever have bad dreams or flashbacks, or does it still stay with you?
No, because after a few years, I got to a point where I no longer shied away from pain, and I accept that life will always be a mixture of sentiments, and that is not going to be the biggest test for me in life. So I don't think of, for example, revisiting the recreated self in my documentary as painful as such. I really, really love the fact that I can show the world what it's like, and nobody has done that. And I hope it makes a difference. I hope it shames the Chinese government, and I hope less people go through that horrible experience.
It's fascinating. I could talk to you forever. If you guys want to stream the documentary, Cheng Lei, My Story, it's at skynews.com.au.
And there's a TED Talk.
Is there a TED Talk as well?
Yes.
Great. And also your book, Cheng Lei, A Memoir of Freedom, is out now. Cheng Lei, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Carrie and Tommy.
So I reckon I've watched The Lion King between the movie and the stage show at least 10 times.
Really?
And I am so embarrassed that I, the whole time in my head, have been saying something that's the opposite of what the words actually are. So I was showing a friend a Big 5 marathon, and I was showing her where we were in this mountain range, and she said, that looks like Pride Rock. That looks like the bit in The Lion King where they go and stand. And I said, yeah, the bit where they go, ay, caramba, like this. And then he goes, what? And I'm like, you know that bit? And he goes, I caramba. And I said, you know the bit.
You're really merging
I know the bit. And he doesn't say
languages.
I caramba. And I said, isn't it? But isn't it in the tone of the African? Like, I caramba. And he goes, it is nothing like
Isn't
that.
I Caramba Spanish or something?
But then he said, is I caramba Bart Simpson? And then I said, I don't know. Where does I caramba come from? And then I had to find out what they're actually saying in The Lion King. It's not I caramba. Can someone Google where I caramba's from? Oh, Eli, it's Spanish, but is it from a show? Just come in and tell me, you donkey.
Popularised by Bart Simpson.
Oh, Bart Simpson. Oh, you know when you get Bart Simpson and the Lion King.
Mufasa mixed up.
Anyway, I obviously love the music, the soundtrack from The Lion King.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I do. Elton's in it with Can You Feel the Love Tonight? So, I do know those words.
Did he write all the music?
He did the whole,
Him
didn't he
and-
do
him-
the whole
him and Bernie?
script? What's it called? The whole...
The book.
The whole soundtrack. Why can't I speak?
I didn't know he could write in Spanish.
I can't speak. Anyway, so I thought let's get a bit of Elton on. We can't play the soundtrack because we wouldn't play it.
Because it's in Spanish.
Also because we're a hit station and we're not going to play the Lion King
so what
soundtrack.
have we got? Someone who's inspired by Elton?
We've got Elton.
Oh.
Cold Heart.
Oh, give me the pop star.
Carrie and Tommy.
If you drive home this Arvo, it is Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little. The Coles Fest online sale is on now. Head online or to the Coles app today. Offers end 22nd of June.
This is awesome. Win with every online order with over $10 million worth of prizes up for grabs when you shop online or in the app.
And if you spend $50 or more online, you automatically go in the draw to win a year's worth of groceries valued at $13.5.
Oh my God, that would be so helpful right now.
Wouldn't it just?
I love when young people talk and we don't understand. Have you heard about Ugly Hot and Hot Ugly?
Yeah, I've been called two of those.
Have you? Have you actually? No.
It's just a hot joke.
Oh, not ugly.
Yeah, it could have been that. What did
See,
you think
that
it was?
there is hot ugly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that what he did there?
though.
Hot ugly.
That is hot ugly,
Yeah.
I would say.
What is it?
Yeah, exactly.
They just
Let's
called you
learn.
hot.
So
That's nice. I've been called 3 of those.
You know, you're hot, but then as
Thanks,
we get
Sue.
to know you, we don't like you. You're ugly.
Getting better and better.
it's a phenomenon usually about men of whether you're hot ugly or you're ugly hot. So typically, if you're hot ugly, it means you're technically attractive or conventionally attractive. So think
A
you're
soft 6.
no, like
a
based
hard
purely
8.
on looks, you're like 8, 9, 10
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Thank
But
you.
then there's something
Ding me
about you.
again. What a day.
Not you, just the person who is hot.
It's more interesting when it's me.
Okay, let's take him for but keep going.
At the end, I'll tell you which one you are. But so yes, like Channing Tatum, he's
Conventionally
conventionally hot, but there's something a bit about him that's a bit strange, off. It doesn't make him like
Channing Tatum, there's things about him that
he looks
turn you
like a
off him.
thumb. And moving on, but then
He
there's
looks like
other
a thumb.
Yeah.
Didn't you sit next to him on the project and say he's the most beautiful man you've ever
Yeah,
met?
and I scared the pants off him because just before
Nice.
he walked out, there was a huge studio audience, all women, and I said, "Hey, whoever screams loudest gets to root him," and he didn't hear that, and then we introduced him, and women were just going, and he was so terrified, and I said, "I'm so sorry, but you have to root one of these women now," and he was like, "What? What?" And I'm like, "It's just a joke." Anyway,
He's
he's
already got
gorge
enough that
size.
he's doing. He can't do any more.
Has he done the dirty?
No, I don't think he's done the dirty. He's just he's
No, they're split.
they're off now. He's just
He's
had
back.
had a lovely line of them.
But not at once.
I don't think at once.
Oh, so he's done nothing wrong.
I didn't
Let's
say
not
he did.
try and besmirch poor Channing's name.
I didn't do any of those things.
I
I
like
just said
him.
he's got enough women that he's handling.
But it's only one at a time, right?
But that's still a lot.
Wait, why are you trying to say you can't have more than one at a time?
No,
Don't
that's
yuck
what,
other people's yums.
That's what I thought was a handful.
Yeah.
I thought he's just got a normal job.
Job
Yeah,
now.
me?
9 to
Okay,
5.
No, he's 9 to 10.
So he's what Zoe calls
There's no
a
fives.
hot
To
ugly.
me, he is hot ugly. So conventionally hot in the broader spectrum, but then there's something a bit not quite
Personality's
right.
not quite
Then
right.
there's the
I
ugly
love
hot.
when people try and bring people down that they would kill to have a chance with.
Not a chance. Not a chance. That's another conversation. But then ugly hot is someone who conventionally might not be as attractive to look at, but there's something about them that's very
Makes
magnetic
them
or
hot.
appealing.
Charismatic.
Which is
yes.
what all these little rat boys are.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
You know how all the
Timothy
girls are
Chalamet.
liking all the rat boys or whatever they call
Yes.
it?
So yeah, Timothy Chalamet is a great example. Pete Davidson.
Oh, they're
from
not all,
SNL.
none of them
like
are for
he's
me.
gross, but there's something about him that's just really hot. So yeah, we were talking about ugly, hot, ugly. Do you want to know which one I think you are?
I do. I'm interested.
Yeah, I said it
Can
at
you go
the
around the
start.
whole team?
The whole
Stop
team.
making about yourself,
No,
Sam.
it's-
Let's focus on numero uno over here.
What do you think?
It's difficult because I know and love all of you. But Tommy, I'm not going to look at you and say, I would say that you, in the spectrum
Oh my
of
gosh,
this,
she's going really pink.
I think you're ugly hot.
So conventionally, you're not attractive.
No,
But your personality makes you
because the tattoos, the comedian, blah,
make
blah,
up
blah.
for what?
No, as in that's not so much the conventionally attractive
Oh.
Channing Tatum, perfect skin. I shouldn't have brought this up. Stop talking.
Geez, old shitskin over here is feeling a bit down about himself, to be honest.
Excellent personality, though.
Follow Carrie Bickmore and Tommy Little on socials at Carrie Tommy Show.
Bye.
Bye. Carrie and Tommy love a good deal, and CommBank Yellow has plenty. Cashbacks, discounts, and exclusive deals. Just for banking with CommBank. Say hello to CommBank Yellow today.